Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to be installing a 12 volt DC fan here in the chicken coop, and we're also going to install one into our greenhouse. The first thing I got to figure out is where I'm going to put the equipment. Because here on the chicken coop, we're going to have the fan, a solar panel, and a battery. Now these solar panels here is from a set, the original set of solar panels that we used here on the property when we first came in 2019. These are some Harbor Freight panels. First thing I got to do is get the panel down, and then kind of see where I'm going to mount it up over here on the chicken coop. Alright, so I think I figured out how we're going to go about this. We're going to be mounting the solar panels on the frame of the run, and then the battery, we're going to use this bin, and it's simply going to sit outside the coop so that we can turn the fan on and off from outside, so we don't keep going in and out and disturbing the birds and all that stuff. Plus, having it outside just makes it a hell of a lot easier. Alright, so I did some digging. I don't have an extra charge controller, but what I do have is a charge controller that I won't be using come the winter time. So that charge controller right there, we'll put on the chicken coop when we're done with the water here in the kitchen. In the meantime, I'm simply gonna just run the solar panel right to the battery and hope that we don't blow it up. So one of the great things about being able to do this stuff on your own is you get to change your plans as often as you'd like. And that's what it seems like I'm doing. What I've decided is I did find a charge controller, and I am going to use a car battery, which are designed to be charged and discharged in cold weather. So I don't really need this box with all this insulation. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can't use one of the nesting boxes on the bottom, and then use that for the battery. And then I'll just mount the charge controller up on the side of the wall, run all the wires, get everything nice and tucked, and then yeah, see if that'll work. Here's Miss Broody, Miss Attitude, right there. Hey, Miss Attitude, how you doing? We gotta get her out of this broodiness. I think we're gonna go into this box because nobody uses. All right, so I think I'm gonna put the battery in here and actually on top of a piece of insulation just to keep it up off the floor. Babs. Dude. Seriously, girl? Not happening. Come on. Yeah, I know. Come on. You can't be in there. Okay, so. Charge control. Boy, I just had that charge controller. Son of a gun. Oh, there it is. I think right there would be the best spot to mount it. Well, you are determined. Look at you. That is a broody hen for you. She just jumped, what, 3.5, 4 feet to get over there, only for me to get her out.
She's sneaking there again.
She jumped up on the roost and then jumped from the roost over to the bed.
That's a lot of them do that.
Yeah, the charge controller is not working. Oh crap. Okay, so I got it working, but I had to take this thing apart. If you've got the Thunderbolt solar charger, these are the ones that you would pick up from Harbor Freight. There is a 20 amp fuse inside, but it's soldered. So I had to take the board out, desolder the old one, and then solder in a new 20 amp fuse. So, but it's all good. It's working. It's charging the battery right now, which is awesome. So the next step is to, first thing I want to do is run this light. And, well, the first thing I'm going to do is tie up all these cables here. I don't want that floating around for the girls to get into. And then we're going to run this light. Gives us a little light bulb here. So we're going to do that first, and then we will, we're going to look at that fan. So. Alright, so unfortunately my phone died yesterday, but we are back today. Hey Shirley, how you doing, baby girl? I'm going to try not to bother you, but we have our fan, and we have our light, and everything works. Look at that. These fans we got off of Amazon. There is a link in the description. They are 12 volt, so they hook up right to the battery. And these things are awesome. That's low and that's high. They're very low wattage. They clamp on. This one here I've got hooked directly to my Harbor Freight charge controller, which is hooked up to 75 watts of panels. And then the battery we have down below here, right there. Overall, I'm really happy with the way that this has come out. So now that we have the chicken coop solar done, the next place we're heading is to the greenhouse. We're going to put more panels over there, a couple of batteries, and we've got the fan that's going over there as well. So let's head on over there. All right, so now that we are done in the chicken coop, we're over here at the greenhouse. And we've got 200 watts of solar panels, and these are the old Harbor Freight panels that we used when we first arrived here in Maine. We've got these running into the greenhouse. In this corner here is going to be the power area. I've got a 12 volt 100 amp hour battery here, which will give us 1200 watt hours. Of those we can use 600 watt hours, which will be more than enough what we need here in the greenhouse. The charge controller we're using is a Renogy Commander. This is a 40 amp solar charger, and then it has its display here. So now that I have all the components, I'm going to try to wire everything up real quick and then turn it on and see if it works. All right, so we do have power. 12 volt fan is working awesome. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and get all of this stuff put up nice and neat, as best I can. Call this project done. This is the stove that we want to get into the greenhouse. So I think the first thing I need to do is make a base for it. Something that it can sit on inside of the greenhouse. I have an idea. All right, so we've got our deck in here. I'm not sure if I like it, to be frankly honest. I mean, I like it. It's just a couple things I'm not a fan of. I don't like the fact that we got this sharp metal right here, right where the door is, but we'll figure that out. I think for now, that's gonna be it for the day. It's getting late. I got quite a bit of work to clean up, so I'm gonna go do that. And then tomorrow, we're gonna go ahead and move the stove in here. We're gonna get it put in here. Go ahead and get the hole cut, get the stovepipe and everything in. Yeah, it should be pretty cool. It'd be nice to have it in here. The other thing I'm doing is, you'll see, we're gonna insulate in these walls and then put metal roofing around it to help protect it from the heat from the stove. So yeah, good day. So it's been a few days since we worked on in the greenhouse. Primarily because the weather has really sucked. But that's just kind of one of the things around here you just have to deal with. Everything is dependent on the weather here. Okay, so right now we've got our base in here. This is the general area in which the wood stove is going to go. The next step for me today is I'm going to insulate this section of wall here and this section, and then we're going to put some metal tin up because I need to be able to protect that wood from the wood stove. I also want it to radiate the heat from this area out here. Now we are going to have a fan in here, so that's going to help, distribute the heat throughout the greenhouse. But having that insulated will also help reduce the heat loss through the walls. So let's get on it. Okay, so we've got our first layer here, which is awesome. We are going to go a little higher, I think. I'm not sure yet. What I really need to do is get take a look at how we're going to be drilling through the wall there for the wood stove. So let's go and take a look at our storage shed and see what we've got to do to get it out of there and get it moved into the greenhouse. So this is the stovepipe that we're going to be putting on the greenhouse. So I got to dismantle all of this, get that plate, take all this off of here, and let's go see what it looks like inside. Oh, yeah, this is the remnants of my prior life. These are my suits from Joseph A. Bank. Haven't worn those since I moved out here. So that is what I've got to pull out of here. That's what's going to be going through the wall in the greenhouse. So I think what I'm going to do first is dismantle it from the outside, get all of that off, and then I'll take a look inside of here and see what I have to do to take this section out. So yeah, quite a bit of work ahead of me, but it'll be worth it. Well, you ever have a moment when you thought that you had plugged your phone in to let it charge, only to find out later when you really need it that it didn't charge? Yeah, that's what happened to me. Well, we got the stovepipe down. Unfortunately, it never filmed it, so my bad. I'm sorry. Here's the stovepipe. Now, this is really tall. I think I'm only going to end up using half of this. I don't think I need to use the whole thing. but we'll see. I've got the other part here. Really, the next step is I have to disassemble this thing off of the cabin. Then I also have to get that band up there as well. And then we can go ahead and move everything over to the greenhouse and see about getting that thing installed. So now that I've got the components for the stovepipe in here, I'm kind of looking at this, and since I don't really know where the stovepipe's going to come up out of the stove, I'm beginning to think that I need to go grab the stove. Put the stove in here, kind of get it situated so that way I can build out the stovepipe and figure out where it's going to go in this wall here. So yeah, I could not be happier. All right, so now I got to work on figuring out where this hole is going to go and then get that put in there. Well, this is not working out the way I had anticipated. Thought I'd be able to just cut a hole in it using the jigsaw, but it's not so cut and dry. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the skill saw. I'm going to try and cut the best hole I can with it, and then come back and finish it with a different saw. Here's a funny fact. What you just witnessed with me using that jigsaw, that is the first time in my life I have ever used one. That might be also why I can't cut this cedar with it. Okay, so it was totally inexperience and not knowing how to use a jigsaw that prevented me from cutting this hole. I played around with it for a few minutes after the skill saw was an absolute failure. And actually it cut it like butter. So I think I figured out how to use it, which is pretty awesome. I'm pretty excited about it, actually. It's kind of a neat tool. I mean, I got two of them. I've just never had a need for them until now. So now that I know kind of how to use it, I might end up using it more. I don't know, we'll see. But the next step for me is I got to make sure this hole is big enough for the pipe that's going to fit through it. So let's see. Not too shabby for a guy who doesn't know what he's doing. Although it is a little close to the building, but I think that's going to be okay. If it's not, we can then adjust it. But for now, it's a-okay in my book. Okay, so the next step here is to cut this piece right here so that it'll fit from the elbow over to the stovepipe that goes outside. So I've got my my cutter, so we're going to go ahead and cut it. All right, so this has been a very productive couple of days. We've got the fan in the greenhouse. We have the fan installed in the chicken coop. And more importantly, we have the wood stove in our greenhouse. The last thing I have to do really with this is run a fire. But I ain't doing that for another probably 2 months. So once it gets cold enough and I can run that, I will, and I will definitely let you folks know how it went. I am exhausted. I am ready to call it a day. It's been a long couple of days. It's been really hot, but these smaller projects, these are the things that really keep the homestead going. It's great to build these buildings, but then, you know, you've got to actually make the buildings functional, and you've got to, you know, work with the buildings and use the buildings for what you had intended them for. And that's what we're going to be doing here in the greenhouse. Getting the fan installed was huge because it is very hot in here. And even with the door and the window open, we still needed some artificial ventilation and airflow. And so, you know, getting that installed with the solar definitely helped. Same thing with the chicken coop. They really needed some air in there. And that little fan with the solar panels is perfect. So, all right. Well, I am done for the day. And we are done with this video. So thanks a lot for sticking around and watching it. If you liked it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you folks on the next video.